to get a little release on. So we will be working with, I mentioned in the email, we'll be working with a practice referred to as exercise without movement. And we do that from a reclined position, but we want to get all of our joints and everything kind of ready to go. We'll do that, and then we'll find our way into some restorative, full restorative postures so that we can prepare for a nice deep release. It's not necessarily uncommon to find a little bit of an energy bump when you finish a practice like this, but you should sleep well once it gets back toward bedtime. It won't typically wake you up like consumption of caffeine or a more vigorous exercise program would. So since we are going to spend so much time in a reclined position, I would encourage you to find a seated position. If sitting on your mat like this doesn't work for you, you can always place your back against a wall. You can prop up on your bolster, blankets, anything that you may need. We'll come into our centering space from this seated position so that we aren't spending the entire time lying down. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. So allow yourself to settle in, the sit bones melting toward the ground. Soften through the legs. Allow the shoulders to soften away from the ears. The crown of the head just kind of floats toward the sky. Bring your awareness to your breath. You can have your eyes open or closed. With each inhalation, notice where the body moves as you inhale. It's not just the chest and the abdomen rising and falling. Notice those other areas where you move with the breath. Some of the ones that are more evident are typically the sides of the body. You may notice movement in the back of the body, particularly if you're sitting with your back against something. So part of coming into a practice that supports sleep and rest, finding your way into a space that allows you to prepare for proper sleep, is allowing yourself to kind of slow the breath, allowing yourself to use the breath to soften areas in the body where you might be holding tension, holding discomfort. We want to begin releasing those. So with your next several breaths, start to kind of scan the body, start to draw awareness from the top of the head all the way down to the tips of the fingers and toes. Noticing if there are any areas where you are clenching or holding. We'll take about 4 more breaths here. So just take your time scanning. Full, slow, deep, even breaths. With your next several breaths, see if you can send awareness with the breath to those spaces where you may have noticed some tension. So common areas are the jaw, the shoulders, the upper back, the hips, the low back, the glutes. See if you can send your breath to the areas where you find your tension. And just be aware as we do this, as you release tension in one area of the body, sometimes it bounces to another. It doesn't necessarily leave with the breath like we want it to. Maybe temporarily it does and it'll reappear somewhere else. So just noticing as it comes back up, it doesn't mean that you're not in the practice correctly or that you're doing something wrong. It simply means that it's a holding pattern that you've had for a long time. And the body's reluctant to let go of it. The body's reluctant to release that. The brain is reluctant to make that change and trust that the floor and the environment surrounding you are able to support you. We want to continue to release those holds. so that we can work just with the positive, the beneficial engagement in our muscles and avoid that tension that causes chronic pain or long-term injury. And we'll begin as you settle in here to simply sway gently from side to side. So you can have the hands wherever you would like, but try and just allow yourself to get into tiny little side bends, coming to one side, through center and over to the other. You can have your eyes open with a soft gaze at the ground or close them. Sometimes closing the eyes, that movement can be somewhat uncomfortable. Sometimes having the eyes open and seeing the movement is uncomfortable. And if it doesn't work in your body at all, you certainly have the option of opting out. One more round of breath right here. Find your way back to that neutral center space. Let's start to notice any distracting thoughts. So anything that takes your awareness away from your practice is a distracting thought, even if it seems like it's something beneficial, even if it's something important. So a little mental reminder to thank a friend for something, or a little mental reminder to buy milk on the way home tomorrow. They're not bad things. They're not thoughts that you need to get rid of that are interfering with your life. But while you're trying to practice, we want to try and keep our focus on our practice. So just notice all of those little things and start to think of a mental storage space. So maybe you pick a little mental storage space that has the ability to segregate or to triage these thoughts. You don't need to do it as they go into the storage space. They go into their respective slots. They're in and out boxes. All of those mental distractions, little bits of clutter in the practice space of the mind. And as you inhale, we'll bring the chin toward the sky, gazing up. Maybe the eyes are open, maybe not. Gathering up some of those distractions, and as you exhale, nice and slow and easy, allow the chin to come down toward the chest, toward the collarbone. As large or as small a movement as your body will allow, just make sure that you're taking your time. Let's take a full inhalation, big full inhalation to get that chin up toward the sky. Big full exhalation to bring that chin back down toward the chest. One more time here. With your next inhalation, we'll find our way back to neutral, chin parallel to the ground. Start to turn the head gently from side to side, giving some gentle, easy movements into the neck. So notice where, again, those areas of tension are. Neck is another area where we tend to have holding patterns. They actually kind of stem from the shoulders and from the jaw, but it does present some tension, some soreness in the body. So notice those. Pausing in stillness with the head in that neutral position. If it works in your body, we'll drop the right ear toward the right shoulder. Allow the chin to roll across the chest. The left ear floats over towards your left shoulder, and then we'll come back. So we already brought the head up and down. Let's just allow ourselves to make these little smiley faces or half moon shapes. Stretching the sides of the neck, continuing to gather up, distracting thoughts on our inhalations. Send them into our storage space with our exhalation. Into that file cabinet, into that closet, into that chest of drawers, into that whatever it is that you need to allow them to vacate your space for the remainder of the practice period. The next time you find your chin at your chest, we'll pause in stillness, taking one more exhalation, sealing off that storage space with all these distractions inside. As you inhale, sit up nice. Let's get some movement into the arms and shoulders. We'll bring the right fingers up toward the sky and then back and down. So let the left fingertips come to the ground and we'll bring that arm back behind us, forward and down. Right arm comes up, back and down. Left arm comes back, forward and down. Back, toward the back, up and down with the right hand. Toward the front, back and down with the left. One more time like this. Toward the back and forward, toward the front and back. And then we'll switch just to make things more confusing, right? Inhale, fingertips come to the sky, that left hand comes forward and down. And I realized that I did, in fact, switch directions on you at one point, fingertips to the sky, back and down. It'll probably happen again. Hand comes up, back and down, back, forward and down. Right hand up, back and down. Left hand back, forward and down. Right arm up, back and down. You know, nobody said there was thinking involved in this, right? Right arm up toward the back and then down. Right arm up, drawing it back, dropping. Left arm comes toward the wall behind us, up and down. And then toward the space in front of us, back and down. Pause and stillness here. Sit up nice and tall, getting some gentle movement into the torso, and the hips will start stirring things around a little bit. So you can bring the hands to the heart, you can kind of leave them loose. We just don't want to pull ourselves around by the legs, let the muscles in the body do some of the work. So we kind of just lean toward the right and then roll backward, trying to keep the knees as close to the ground as you can. Rolling toward your left and then rolling forward. So again, this is a nice, gentle kind of rocking movement. Maybe you rock the head around with it, maybe not. It depends what's happening in your neck. It depends whether or not that makes you dizzy. We're focusing on the middle of the body. So what you choose to do with head, shoulders, that sort of thing is completely up to you. We're looking for movement through the hips. We're looking for stretches in the sides of the waist. One more time like this. We'll come forward, and as we switch directions, we're going to get some movement into those arms. So allow the left hand to come up, the right arm comes up. We lean back, hands come down, rolling forward. We bring that arm up, nice big sweeping motion, both hands come down, then left hand comes across, rolling over, walking across. One more time. We'll pause here. This little forward fold, palms, fingertips, forearms at the ground, whatever finds its way down for you. 2 more breaths here. Last breath right here. Inhale as you come up to your seated position. We're going to find our way into a seated position with the legs extended out in front of us. Now you decide if you want to have your feet side by side or if you'd rather have more of a gap. You can have a little gap between the feet can be all the way out toward opposite sides of the mat. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're able to soften the tops of the legs, soften into the glutes and the low back, facilitating that hinging forward so you can stretch the backs of the legs, and that will allow you to get some stretch into the low back and into the glutes. So this is another area where we tend to hold a stress and strain. We stand on this a lot, so there's a natural tendency toward physical strain, but we also tend to tighten in these areas when we're startled or when we're upset about something. When you think about if someone cuts you off in traffic, you tend to clench the glutes and the legs as you're slamming on the brakes. Even though you notice mostly that shift forward with the shoulders. So we want to just kind of release all of that. Let's bring those arms up overhead with the strap in hand. If you're not using a strap, that's okay. You don't have to. We're just using it to help us get to the feet. Hinge at the hips. Sinking forward, allow that strap to find the soles of the feet. Starting just with a little bit of a hinge forward. We want little or no tension on that strap. We shouldn't feel ourselves pulling into the soles of the feet. It's just there to allow us to have that connection to the root, to the connector space of the body as we fold forward. With your next exhalation, soften through the quadriceps, draw the navel center toward the spine a little bit and allow yourself to fall forward. Notice if you're lifting, if you're clenching, soften. The feet can do whatever they want. They're not part of this mix. Let's take another breath here. With your next exhalation, you fall or sink forward a little bit more, hands walking toward the feet. Navel center draws toward the spine a bit or a bit more, depending where you were. We'll stay here for about 5 more breaths. Last breath right here. With your next inhalation, slowly ease up. We'll go ahead and bring the strap just to the right, to your right foot. Using my left so I can face towards you. And we'll kind of walk toward that extended leg. And you can choose to not use the strap and just step against the shin, touch the ankle, maybe you touch the toes or the outside edge of the foot. But we want to get into more of a side bend. So after we fold forward, we allow the shoulders to start to stay. That left hand finds the hip with the low back. The gaze can come up over the shoulder. You can keep the neck neutral, or you can bring the gaze toward the ground. Let's stay here for about 5 breaths. Again, notice when you did this, did you clench anywhere and can you soften? When you did this, did you lean to that right side? See if you can settle into a more stable space at that base of the body. Soften any amount more, 1 more forward. And as we soften and relieve tension in the body, slowly come up. You may notice if you really had a deep release, if you managed to connect to or get rid of tension that you've been carrying around for a long time, like bring the stretch to the left foot, that the muscles will feel a little bit sore the next day, much the way that happens sometimes when you have a really deep tissue massage. Because we're getting rid of that tension, we'll sink toward that extended left leg, and then the same thing happens. So turning, stacking the shoulders. So what happens in all of these situations is you've essentially been working that muscle for years. You've had it tensed. You've been clenching that space. So when you start to release it, that's when you start to get the sensation of soreness, because it's no longer engaged, but rather the blood can flow properly through that area, and you start to, it's after your workout, after you release the muscles, not while you're working out typically, that you'll experience that sensation of soreness. So just don't be surprised if you have a little bit of soreness in some areas tomorrow or the next day. That just indicates that you got some great releases today. With your next inhalation, we'll slowly unwind. Coming up nice and tall, we'll release our strap. We may use that later. I don't know that we're going to, because we just might run out of time. But have it nearby just in case. So from here, let's get into the hips a little bit more. We'll come into our Baddha Konasana. So again, if Baddha Konasana, which is our bound angle, our cobbler's butterfly pose, it has a bunch of names. Some of that refers to variations on it. If this doesn't work for you, you can extend the leg out in front and then try and switch sides so that both hips get the same amount of attention. But we'll begin by just sitting up nice and tall. And again, allow yourself to sink, root down to the ground. So feeling that kind of release, if you were to take a handful of pebbles and put them at the top of a tube and release them, that gradual falling down. If you've ever heard someone use a rain stick, it's got those beads or beans or pebbles in it. So that's kind of the sensation you get as you release that tension down, 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 and out. Allow it to go away. Once it gets to the tailbone or the toes or the fingers or wherever it finds itself, let it start to release. As you exhale, sink forward a little bit. Two more breaths. With your next exhalation, maybe you sink forward a little bit more, if that's available to you. If that creates strain, if you need to press forward, or pull onto the toes, or drag yourself forward by the arms or the hands, then that's too far. Allow yourself to just settle it a little bit farther away from the feet. If you are alternating legs, go ahead and come up, switch the cross of your legs, and then sink forward, again, easing in halfway. About 3 breaths. Coming a little bit more. We'll stay here for about 5 more breaths. Give yourself a chance to work through the process if having the feet together wasn't available to you. Take about 2 more breaths. So if you switch sides and it's available to you to sink any amount more, go ahead and do so. If not, stay where you are. Got about 1 more big full breath here. With an inhalation, we are going to slowly roll up. Nice and easy. Sitting up nice and tall. Allow the legs to extend. Give yourself any little movements that you may need. Maybe you need to shake or wiggle or rock things around. Anything that makes sense for you to relieve anything that might have built up in your body as we were doing that. So from here, we are going to find our way into legs up the wall so that we can get a little bit more movement. We will end up doing 2, maybe 3 restorative poses once we come out of our legs up the wall and into our more supported poses. So just have that kind of awareness so that you know what to expect. And I'll show you a couple of modifications based on variance in what you might have for practice. So go ahead and bring yourself toward your wall. You're welcome to stand up, come to the wall, and then sit back down if you would like. We're going to bring whichever hip you would like up against the wall. And if bringing your legs up the wall isn't available to you, you might be able to bring your mat to a chair where you could bring the legs up over the chair. The only thing that's not really going to work very, or not probably going to be available to you with that is the supported shoulder stand, but you'll be able to participate in everything else and still get the benefits of that conversion. So again, always allow yourself to adjust and modify according to what you need in your practice today. So as we start to roll backward, we allow the legs to kick up. And then we bring them against the wall. And we continue to scoot closer to the wall until we find the spot where we need to be. So I'm demonstrating here. If your hamstrings are very, very tight, you may need to be a little ways away from the wall. I'm not sure if you can see the distance there, but my sit bones are nowhere near the base bones. If your hamstrings and your low back and your glutes are pretty open, you might be closer to the wall, or you might have those sit bones resting against the wall or just touching the wall as you come into this space. So we are going to begin by just kind of hanging out here in this inversion. This is called Viparita Karani. It's a reverse process. So this actually helps us to kind of reset. This is one of the things that, this is actually a posture that can help with insomnia. It's a posture that can help with anxiety, can help ease symptoms of depression. And as you settle in, it's often uncomfortable when you first come into it, particularly if you haven't done it in a while or if it's not something that you regularly practice. Notice, we're going to stay here for about 5 more breaths. So notice right now how it feels if you kind of find a space of stillness compared to the way it felt when you first kicked those legs up. And then take your awareness to setting an intention for your practice today, if you didn't already choose to do one earlier. So with a restorative or a rest and sleep focused practice, a releasing statement is often appropriate. It's often what makes the most sense, giving yourself the ability to let go of or release something that you're holding on to that is not serving a positive purpose in your life. Whatever it is, it can be an emotion, it can be a habit, it can be a connection to something. And notice once again how the body feels just resting in this space with the legs up the wall. Notice the areas where you've softened and settled already in this short amount of time. With your next exhalation, we'll allow that right leg to start falling out toward the right side. Maybe you place your hand behind, or underneath rather, the right thigh. Maybe you place a blanket, a block, or a bolster underneath to help keep you from dropping in too deeply, too quickly. You already know that the inner thighs are pretty flexible, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you start feeling strain around your knee or around your ankle, or it feels intense through the inner thigh, then allow yourself to back up a little bit, creating some support with some props. So again, even if you don't have a block, we can fold a blanket up into about the same size and shape of most of our yoga blocks, and that can get tucked underneath that thigh, allowing you to release but not going too far because there's something there to support you. We're going to take about 5 more breaths. Maintaining that yogic breath. Full inhalations and exhalations with your next inhale. Allowing the hand to come to the outside of that left leg. Let's slowly press that foot up toward the sky. Bring the sole of that right foot to the ground, and we'll cross that right foot over the left foot. Maybe you feel a stretch through the outside portion of the hip and the thigh from here. Maybe you need to extend the leg longer. Maybe you cross up the ankles. Maybe you benefit more from bringing the foot farther across, bringing the sole closer to the hip. Just be mindful that you're not placing any strain on the knee. Maybe you're walking the foot across, but we're not rolling on the hip. We want to keep the sit bones, the sacrum firmly planted. And if you feel yourself pressing or punching through the middle of the body, or through the inner portions of the legs, I should say, then just allow yourself to find whatever space it is that allows you to rest and facilitate a little bit of stretch through the hips and through the outer thighs, through the anywhere else in the outside of the leg or into the waist. We'll get about 4 more breaths here, if that's working in your body. Remember, if it doesn't work for you, don't worry about doing it. With your next inhalation, let's unwind. Pause for a moment, noticing the difference between the right and the left legs. With your next exhalation, we'll let that right knee come in toward the chest. Maybe you catch behind the knee, maybe you wrap the hands around the shin. So it's supported at the wall, supine variation. Well, it's actually always supine pose, but this inverted apadasana. Drawing the knee in toward the body as the opposite leg extends long. You feel you would benefit from getting a little stretch into the neck and the upper back. That's not going to strain you. You can bring the head up, but it's not necessary. We've got a great push-pull stretch going on here with this knee in. One more breath right here. And let's release. Allow the sole of the foot to find the wall. Slowly extend that left leg. So this time your right leg will find its way out to the right side of the room, and I realize I'm off screen for you now. But you can, again, bring a bolster, you can have a folded blanket, you can have a yoga block, anything that you may need underneath that thigh, or even place the hand there just to prevent yourself from overdoing if you feel any strain or tension around the joints or in the inner thigh. Feels like you're coming a little bit farther than the body needs to. So we want a little sensation of stretch, but if you feel kind of like an intense pulling sensation, if you feel any burning or any tingling or pins and needles sensations, either you want to back up a little bit, you want to prop, and if there's no space that allows that to work for you, then it's time to come out of the pose. So also notice if you're getting any intense sensations in the ears or the head from this reclined position. Depending on what's going on in your body today, you might need to find your way out of the inverted posture a little bit faster than normal. So just being aware of what's happening in your body. We're going to take about 3 more breaths here. And we'll go ahead and bring a hand underneath that left thigh, helping with the arm to ease that left leg up. Allow that left foot to come toward the ground and then cross over the right leg. So again, you can have the sole of the foot at the ground, above or below the knee. You can have the ankles crossed. We just want to get a little sensation of stretch through the outside of the leg. You may even feel it more in the low back or in the glutes. If you're not feeling any sensation at all, and it's not doing anything for you, you can also open into your fallen or your inverted tree pose. But this does get into a different area in the body if you can find a space where you're getting some stretch somewhere. We'll just take about 3 more breaths right here. With your next inhalation, begin to slowly unwind, uncrossing the ankle. With your next, excuse me, been lying down too long, my body's thinking it's time for bed. With your next exhalation, we'll bring that left knee in toward the chest, grabbing behind the knee on the thigh. You can wrap the hands around the shin, whatever works for you. If you choose, you can bring the forehead up off of the ground toward the knee. It's not necessary. We're still getting a really nice stretch, nice opening, just with what we're doing right here. So let's take about 3 more breaths. Remember your or not. If it's not working for you, or not is your option. Last breath here. Release the leg. Slowly draw the heel up toward the sky. We'll find our way into our wall bridge poses. So if this works in your body, we'll bring the feet to the wall. You want to make sure that you have a nice firm point on the wall. So we don't want the feet so far up that we're straining through the low back to get there. You want to be able to kind of press the feet into the wall. We're not really going to have a lot of pressure on the feet. They're firmly planted, but then as the knees roll up toward the sky and the spine heels off of the ground, we actually don't have very much pressure on the knees at all. And then as you exhale slowly, lower. 2 more breaths here. Inhale as you easily, slowly, and as easily as possible press up. Exhale as you slowly and as easily as possible lower back down. 1 more time here. Healing up, knees come toward the sky, weight toward the shoulders. Let's allow the hands to come underneath the hips. And then allow your legs to extend. You can leave the heels resting against the wall, coming into that supported shoulder stand inversion. You can place a block underneath the sacrum if you want to settle in here. You can bring the feet away from the wall if shoulder stand is part of your practice. We're just going to be here for about 4 more breaths. So allow yourself to just kind of settle in wherever your body will allow you to be, and notice that you are going to be engaging more. There may be some tension in the body. Just observe these spaces. 1 more breath right here. And as you exhale, allowing the hands to slide toward opposite sides of the body, the spine rolls back down toward the ground and the legs just slide down. Feet finding their way back to that neutral space. Let's get about 4 breaths here, resetting, just noticing what's happening in the body. So notice where you were tensing as we came up into that supported shoulder stand or into your full shoulder stand. And now that you're fully supported again, notice those same spots. How do they feel now? If you're still feeling tension, see if you can start to release it. And we'll work with that a little bit more with this next little series of exercises that we'll be doing from our back. So when you are ready, finding your way to your side, whichever side is natural to you. It doesn't matter which one you choose, just rolling to one side. Maybe you choose a side based on other furniture in your room so you don't run into anything. It's always a good option. Slowly press up, finding your way to a seated position. And then from here, we will set up we'll begin by connecting to the breath again. So we're going to come into our supported crocodile posture. Now, if you don't have a support for crocodile, you can just rest in crocodile. But the supported crocodile allows us to kind of open up through the upper back, through the upper portion of the shoulders. It helps to release the muscles in the low back surrounding the sacrum. So if you have, we have a couple of options. We can use blankets. That's always a fantastic option. You want to have your blankets folded so that they, as closely as possible, resemble the width of a bolster, of an average bolster. So it's completely off screen. I guess that didn't help you at all, did it? So we don't want to fold them up into a super tight little rectangle. We want them to be right around the same width as your bolster. They might be a little bit narrower, that's okay. You can fold them. This is an 1/8 fold, so it was in quarters and then in half again. You can take that and make it more of a 1/3 for that last round. If you have a bolster, that helps to avoid a lot of blanket folding. So if we don't have a bolster, or we think the bolster is going to be too high when we rest on our abdomen, this is also a good alternative because it's so much thinner. So this, you can see when I put it next to the bolster, is just about half as tall. And if you have one of the larger bolsters, it may be even a 1/3 as tall. So you can use your blanket. If you're using the bolster to support the abdomen, then have one of these guys available to fold up so that you can rest your forehead on it, or you may choose to rest the hands on it and then the forehead, but we will sort that out when we get there. So release or remove, excuse me, your props from your mat. Whatever you're using to rest the abdomen on, we'll go ahead and place that vertically on our mat. Now I like to have my feet toward the wall. I don't really like having my head toward the wall, but you can really face any direction. It's entirely up to you. It's all based on your personal comfort zone. So from here, we are going to come onto our abdomen, have your head support here. Resting on either that folded blanket or the bolster. We want to shift around until we find the spot where we are comfortable. So you shouldn't feel intensely squished. You want to be able to release pretty nicely. Placing your head, either the side of the head or the forehead on the blanket. You can tuck the hands kind of into the folds if you'd like. If it's not quite tall enough, or if you, that can sometimes just be a bit soothing. So you can see how the shoulders are kind of rounding forward, allowing you to stretch through the upper portion of the back. The legs cascade off of either side of the bolster, allowing you to open up across the low back. You can have the arms out in front of you more. You can bring the arms alongside the body if that seems appropriate for you. Finding the space that works for you. And as you settle in here, again, we're returning our awareness to the breath. So have that awareness of the breath as it moves through the body, that lift of the body away from the ground, away from the props with the inhale, that settling in with the exhale. Now, if your props aren't working for you, if you didn't have as many props as you would need to find comfort here, you can always come into a more traditional crocodile pose and still get that inward turning, that inward reflection. That's another piece of what we're trying to do here. But we do not have to be on props if it just isn't working today. If resting on your abdomen isn't working today, you can sit with your legs crossed, facing a wall, placing a blanket under the forehead so you can lean the head against the wall, maybe bring the arms on the wall. There are a lot of options that will give you a similar ability to connect to this space. We're starting to turn inward, so that's one of the reasons for being in this posture where we kind of close out some of that visual noise, some of those visual distractions. Noticing again the way the breath moves through the body, the sides of the body expanding and softening as you inhale and exhale. The back of the body moving, lifting and lowering with each rounding breath. Paying particular attention to the qualities of the breath. Our first quality is that even breath. So notice if you're giving more attention to the inhale or the exhale, try and get them as close to the same as possible, not overthinking it. We don't want the mind racing. We want this to become a natural cadence to the breath. So one of the reasons at the beginning that we start sending away those mental distractions is that pulls us out of our practice. We come off our mat and into our heads, even if we're counting breaths or worrying too much about those breath practices. The next step is to begin to soften the path of the breath. So notice if there are areas where the breath sticks or catches. See if you can soften and smooth those with the breath itself. Then allow that breath to come back to continuity. Inhale rolls to exhale. Exhale back to inhale with little or no pause in between. See if you could deepen the breath any amount more. From here, we'll begin to work on just a brief starter practice of that exercise without movement. We'll spend more time on it in future classes, but for today, I just want to introduce you to it. And the purpose of this is to find those areas where you're holding tension in the body and begin to become aware of how to release them. So allow yourself to tighten the right hand and right arm from the tips of the fingers to the shoulder. And with an exhale, just let it release. Not a slow, gentle release, just let that tension drop. Once again, tensing your entire right arm from the tips of the fingers to the shoulder and drop with an exhale. Just coming to the left side, tensing the left fingers, hand and arm, tightening. And with your next exhale, just let it drop. So your exhale will complete after you've softened that arm. One more time, full tensing from the tips of the fingers all the way up to the shoulder, and then release quickly with an exhale. So allow the right leg to tense from the toes all the way up to the hip. With an exhale, release that tension. And drop. One more time. From the tips of the toes all the way up to the hip, as much as your body will allow you to. And exhale, just let it release. If we need to bypass any parts of the body due to injury or concerns, go ahead and do so. You can always tense other spaces within the same general area. Switching to the left side. Toes, foot, and leg. See if you can do this without clenching the glutes. That's the challenge. Exhale, let it drop. One more time. Tensing. That doesn't mean lifting, it just means in squeezing the muscles in toward the bone. With an exhale, let it release. Let's try the glutes. Tightening the glutes, see if you can do this without tightening the legs. With an exhale, release that tension. One more time. Tightening the glutes. And with your next exhalation, just let it drop. One more time from the very base of the abdomen, the lowest part of the abdomen, start to draw inward and upward, clenching the abdomen, the sides of the body, the middle of the back. Exhale, let it drop. One more time. So this allows you to turn from that very low part of the abdomen, the hips, the sides of the waist, the center of the abdomen, maybe the middle of the back. And with an exhale, drop the tension, sinking, softening back against that bolster. One more big full breath right here. And with your next inhale, we'll bring the hands back underneath the shoulders and gently transition up and into a child's pose. Allow the forehead or the side of the head to rest on whatever props you may have been resting against. extending the arms and the spine. One more breath right here. With your next inhalation, find your way up into your tabletop. We'll set up for our last posture for today. If you don't have the props to do it, you can always just come into Shavasana, or you can also come into a heart opener, although we will be here for a little while, so if you start feeling tension there, allow yourself to release the props underneath you. So for a heart opener, you would just take a folded blanket and place it kind of between the shoulder blades, allowing the shoulders to open, arms out to the sides or alongside the body. But it may be nice to have this little inversion, this little kind of recliner going on. So you can bring the block to either the medium or the lowest setting. We want a really gentle incline if we're working with the incline, especially since we probably just have one bolster to work with. If we're too high, it's more beneficial to have one under the torso and under the knees. It also usually necessitates additional blankets so you can really properly prop the arms and the head. But we can take our bolster on a block. We will take a blanket and roll it up to place it underneath the knees. You may want another blanket underneath your head, and you may want one to cover with. You also can forego any of these blankets. So again, what we're looking for, let me see, hopefully I'm in the picture properly. Yes, when they come down, you don't want the chin to be tilted up, and you don't want the chin to be tucked way in toward the chest. So if the chin is tilted way up, that's where adding a blanket will help you straighten the neck. If the chin is tilted in toward the chest, you may have yourself too high, and you may need to drop your block down. If you're just using the blankets, again, remember, we're just going to take them, one or two, fold them, place them underneath the body, and lie down against them. And sit, if you have the extra blanket available, as we release, as we relax, and as we soften, we tend to become cooler. So it's always a good idea, even if you don't cover up all of the way, to maybe just cover the feet, or just have the blanket kind of opened up and ready to go, so that as you come into your space of relaxation, you are able to easily find some more, should you need it. So give you a moment or two to settle into this space. If you have a sleep mask or an eye pillow that you like to use, you can incorporate that. We're really going to rest today. We have about 20 minutes to come through a couple different phases, a couple of different relaxation techniques, a couple of different softening or relaxation or releasing meditations. So they have names. Shavayatra is the first one that we'll be doing. That's a 61-point relaxation. Then we'll come into Chitta Karani, which is another breathing and releasing practice. So these are going to allow you to hopefully find a state of stillness in the body, stillness in the mind, release, allowing you to get just enough rest to experience the benefits of these without preventing you from sleeping properly. I don't foresee that being a problem though. So settling in, if you need any additional props, if you need to change your positioning, go ahead and do so. If Shavasana or Shavasana with blanket under the knees or the hips is what you need, you want to get rid of this recliner setup, Remember, this is your practice. We want to be able to be completely softened and released for this practice. Let's take another breath here. Finding your way back into that deep diaphragmatic breath. So we've come back to that a couple of times. Hopefully it's natural. Hopefully you're already there. But if not, just try and have an awareness of it. And as we come through the release, don't worry too much about focusing on the breath. We want to maintain nice deep breaths. We don't want to hold the breath at all. We want that smoothness and that evenness, but I wouldn't worry too much about those qualities of the breath that we talked about. If they aren't already natural, we will get there with time. So begin by simply noticing the sensation of the support coming from the ground beneath you, from the props that are supporting the body. Having that awareness of this support allows the mind to release, allows you to begin to release tension in the body. We don't need to hold that. We don't have to hold. The floor can hold us. Let the floor hold you. Release the tension. Releasing, allowing the floor and the props to hold you. Slowing the breath as much as your body will allow you to, as much as is natural without thinking about it. With your next inhalation, bring your awareness to the center of the eyebrows. And as we look at each of these spaces, as we soften into or come to each of these spaces, thinking about the actual center. So between the front and the back of the head and the two sides of the head, eyebrow center is actually the space in the middle of all four of those points, lined up with the space between the eyebrows. So bring yourself inward, center of the eyebrows, throat center, right shoulder, right elbow, right wrist, right thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, right wrist, right elbow, right shoulder, throat center, left shoulder, left wrist, left elbow, left wrist, left thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, left wrist, left elbow, left shoulder, throat center, heart center, right breast center, heart center, left breast center, heart center, navel center, sacral center, pelvic center, right hip, right knee, right ankle, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, right ankle, right knee, right hip, pelvic center, left hip, left knee, left ankle, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, left ankle, left knee, left hip, pelvic center, navel center, heart center, throat center, eyebrow center. Breathing from the eyebrow center to the tips of the toes. 5 full breaths. From eyebrow center to the ankles, 3 full breaths. To the knees, 3 full breaths. To the hips, 3 full breaths. Pelvic center, 3 full breaths. Navel center, 3 full breaths. Heart center, 3 full breaths. Throat center, 3 full breaths. Eyebrow center, 3 full breaths. The entire right side of the body breathing, 3 full breaths. The entire left side of the body breathing, 3 full breaths. The entire body breathing, 3 full breaths, as if the body is breathing on its own. It's not you, just the body breathing. Bring awareness to the crown of the head. Continue to soften and settle, holding in this space of stillness, Release. Simply follow the path of the breath from the tips of the nostrils to the crown of the head and back. Begin to draw your awareness back. Noticing that support from the ground beneath you, from any props that you're resting against. The ground and the props holding you. The warmth that may be present between your body and these items. Temperature in the room. Following that sensation of that temperature to the tips of the nostrils. It begins to warm as you inhale, drawing that inhalation all the way to fingers and toes, sending it out through the fingers and the toes. Using the breath to wake up all of the cells in the body. One more round of breath just like that. Begin to get some gentle movement. The fingers, the toes. Maybe you rotate wrists and ankles. Or not. As much or as little movement as you need, moving the areas that will benefit from the movement and not those that will not. Maybe you begin to allow the head to rock gently from side to side. Maybe the soles of the feet come to the ground, knees pointing toward the sky, allowing the knees to rock gently from side to side. Pausing in stillness, and when you are ready, using as little energy as possible, find your way back to a seated position if you choose. If you prefer to remain in your resting space, you are welcome to do so. The eyes are still closed. Allow them to slowly blink open. If you're seated, sitting up nice and tall. Sit bones melting toward the ground, tailbone tracking toward the ground, shoulders soften away from the ears, crown of the head rose to the sky. Think about the intention that you set at the beginning of the class. If you wanted to bring something to you, we'll work with that as we close the practice. If you wanted to release something, if you chose a releasing statement, think of drawing in the feeling of that manifestation of that, how it would be to have released that. And we'll work on continuing the release, the pressing away as we exhale. So settle into your intention space. As you inhale, bring the hands in, drawing in whatever it is that you want to bring to you, clearing away whatever it is that needs to be released, whether that's obstacles to the intention or the intention was to release this. Inhale, bringing in what you wish to keep, what you wish to have, clearing away that which does not serve you, that which you need to release. One more time. Allow those hands to come toward the heart. Exhale, clear your path. We'll allow the fingertips to float toward the ground. Bring the hands up overhead. Palms come together. Exhale, sink the hands down the center line of the body. One more round of breath here. Fingertips to the sky, palms together. Exhale, sink the hands down the center line of the body. I'll close the practice with an Om. You're welcome to join me, or you can rest in stillness and breathe. I'll inhale in preparation. Allow the hands to find the heart or wherever they would like to land. Thank you so much for sharing this practice with me today, for offering your time and your energy. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be secure, may you have inner peace, may you be free, and may you be loved. We seal our practice with a gentle forward fold, honoring ourselves and each other. Om Shanti Om. If you choose, you may say namaste. Namaste. And thank you so very much for joining me today. I look forward to practicing with you again very, very soon. It's sleep, and we will see you next time.